Welcome to the Halloween edition of Noir Alley. I'm your host, Eddie Muller. Today I've got a spine-tingling suspense picture, one with a monster lurking in the shadows, a human monster. It's Experiment in Terror from 1962, starring Glenn Ford, Lee Remick, and Stephanie Powers. This was the last film Glenn Ford made for Columbia Pictures, which had been his home studio for 24 years. We might as well go ahead and call it a neo-noir, because there are things about it that definitely distinguish it from similar movies made during the mid-20th century, when noir first flourished. The story revolves around a bank teller, played by the fabulous Lee Remick, who becomes the pawn of a mysterious psychopath. He terrorizes her into robbing the bank where she works. Powers is her younger sister, who gets drawn into the scheme in a way that never would have gotten past the production code a few years earlier. Glenn Ford plays an FBI agent, John Ripley, who tries to protect Remick while he hunts down the culprit. In keeping with the filmmaker's original strategy, I won't mention who plays the villain. He was intentionally left off the credits to add an air of mystery. Let's just pretend it's still 1962 and the internet and social media don't exist, at least for the next 2 hours. FBI agent John Ripley has appeared in Noir Alley before. He was previously played by Broderick Crawford in the 1954 film Down Three Dark Streets. The character was created by the husband and wife team of Gordon and Mildred Gordon, who signed their work simply the Gordons. They met as students at the University of Arizona, got married, and worked as journalists before turning to crime fiction. Many of their 19 novels feature agent John "Rip" Ripley, and the stories had veracity thanks to Gordon Gordon having been an FBI agent working home front counterintelligence during World War II. Today's film is based on their novel Operation Terror, and the Gordons also wrote the screenplay, which was a condition of selling their novels to the movies. They'd been paid $5,000 for the rights to their first book, Make Haste to Live, and later learned that the screenwriter had been paid $40 grand to adapt it. And never let that happen again. The film is produced and directed by Blake Edwards, the first time he served both functions on one film. Although he'd be known mostly for comedies during his long career, Edwards was a big fan of crime pictures. The 1954 noir Drive a Crooked Road was one of his early writing credits, and during the 1950s, he transplanted the 40s-style hard-boiled detective to the small screen in shows like Richard Diamond, Private Eye, Peter Gunn, and Johnny Dollar. Edwards clearly loved his noir, which might explain why he followed up the glamorous Technicolor hit Breakfast at Tiffany's with a gritty thriller shot in black and white. This, however, is not so much a detective story as Edwards making his version of an Alfred Hitchcock movie. Cinematographer Phil Lathrop gets credit for the film's striking imagery, which combines noir atmospherics with great location shots of a San Francisco now largely gone. In fact, the house where Lee Remick lives is as close as any Hollywood movie ever got to filming in the neighborhood where I grew up. The place was located on Clarendon Avenue on the north side of Twin Peaks. As a kid, I played a lot of baseball at Clarendon Park, just down the hill, back when I had dreams of one day playing for the Giants at Candlestick Park. Why am I mentioning this? You will find out soon enough. Featuring a moody and menacing score by the great Henry Mancini, here is Experiment in Terror.